Alright, so inside this box is a PC I grabbed on eBay for 10 bucks. And trust me, it struggled to run Minecraft so hard it practically begged for mercy. With hardware prices going wild lately thanks to chip shortages and the whole AI craze, building a decent gaming PC in 2025 is basically a luxury hobby. I'm running on a pretty tight budget, and I know a lot of you are too, so here we are again with another super cheap gaming PC adventure. Let's see what a $10 machine actually looks like, and more importantly, if throwing a bit more money at it can turn this thing into a surprisingly decent gaming rig. Let's dive in. Building a full custom PC from scratch these days is basically the same as throwing money straight out the window. Luckily for people like us, there is a budget-friendly loophole. Those pre-built SFF desktops from Dell, HP, or pretty much any brand that ever existed. So I jumped onto my favorite shopping battlefield, eBay, typed in the magic keyword, desktop SFF PC, then slapped on a price filter from $0 to $10, and boom! A whole zoo of extremely low-spec machines popped up. Most of them were half-broken, missing parts, or on life support. Honestly, with $10, sometimes all you're buying is a bag of motherboard screws or a random SATA cable. And I swear on my thermal paste, I was not searching for this. But somehow a lace underwear listing and a massage device showed up in the results. eBay, explain? Anyway, after digging through that chaos, I finally found a real contender in the $10 budget category. Before placing the order, I checked the internal layout and realized it was surprisingly upgrade-friendly. Of course, the listing also mentioned that a few components were dead, which explains the price. But hey, I'm a risk taker, so I gambled all my luck on this $10 PC. Let's find out if that was genius, or just another terrible life decision. So this right here is a Fujitsu SFF desktop PC, a brand that's actually really well known in Japan for computers and laptops. Just by looking at the outside, I honestly have no idea what the exact model is. The design is super compact, doesn't take up much desk space at all. It uses a two-tone color scheme, light and dark, which gives it a pretty unique look that's very Fujitsu. There's an Intel i5 sticker on the outside, so I'm hoping there's a CPU inside that's powerful enough to handle some gaming. Alright, let's open it up and see what's hiding inside. Opening it is actually really simple. You just slide the panel forward. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with Fujitsu's internal design. The layout is completely different from what you usually see. Everything looks clean, compact, and really well optimized for space. At first glance, this is a B85 motherboard with an LGA 1150 socket, which means it supports 4th gen Intel CPU, including Xeon E3v3 processors. Right now, it only has one 4GB RAM stick installed, but the motherboard comes with 4 RAM slots, so upgrading it later on won't be a problem at all. What really surprised me is that this machine also comes with a riser card, which means we can connect a dedicated GPU. Of course, it'll probably be best suited for smaller single-fan graphics cards, but that's still a huge plus, especially compared to Dell SFF systems, which are way more limited. That's what made me realize this thing actually has real potential, and honestly, that's why I didn't hesitate to buy it. As for the power supply, it's rated at 248 watts, and unfortunately, there's no SSD included, just a DVD drive. But before we do anything else, the first thing we need to check is whether this PC even works. The seller clearly listed it as for parts or not working. So now, let's see just how lucky I got. On the very first boot, the fan started spinning, but I immediately heard some strange beep codes, and there was still no display output at all. After doing a bit of research, I found out that 4 beeps usually means there's a RAM issue, so I decided to take the RAM out and gently clean the contacts, then plug it back in. And the result was still no display. At this point, I was honestly getting pretty nervous because I had no idea what the actual problem was. So I decided to try a different RAM stick. And this time, it worked. The system finally posted and showed an image. Looks like the original RAM stick was completely dead. Now I'm going to hook up a hard drive and boot into Windows, just to check exactly what CPU is inside this machine. I jumped straight into CPU-Z to check the specs. And that's when reality hit me hard. This thing isn't an i5, not even close. Inside, we've got a Celeron G1820, a very basic chip. Just 2 cores, 2 threads, with the clock speed locked at 2.7 GHz. No boost, no tricks. In benchmarks, it scores about 555 points in multi-core and only 284 in single-core. Now, when it comes to YouTube playback, at 480p, the CPU actually does a decent job. The video plays smoothly and CPU usage stays around 20 to 30%. At 720p, it's still watchable, but the CPU is basically screaming, sitting close to 100% usage. And the moment I switch to 1080p, you can already feel it struggling. Frames start dropping after just 3 to 4 seconds. But let's be honest, we're not here to watch YouTube. So now, the real question is, how playable is Minecraft on a CPU like this? Let's find out. The moment I loaded into the game, I could already tell the CPU was fighting for its life. The FPS was stuck in the single digits at first. After a short while, it climbed up to around 20 FPS as I started walking through the forest. I tried to keep playing, but the frame drops were happening pretty often. So, yeah, it was clear I had to make some compromises. I dropped the render distance down to 8 chunks, just to save this experience. And honestly, the CPU immediately felt a lot more comfortable. FPS jumped up to around 30, which is playable. Not great, but playable. Still, it's not exactly smooth. If I push the chunks all the way down to the minimum, sure, you can play the game. But let's be real, that kind of experience probably isn't what most people are looking for. Because Minecraft isn't just about being playable, it's also about looking good and feeling smooth at the same time. Alright, now it's time to take this little PC to the next level. I'm going to squeeze every bit of performance I possibly can out of this hardware. The first thing I want to focus on is the CPU. Let's be honest, 2 cores and 2 threads just isn't enough in 2025. It gets overloaded way too quickly. So I decided to upgrade to a Xeon E31241V3, which gives us 4 cores and 8 threads. On paper, this CPU is rated at over 330% more performance compared to the Celeron G1820. That's a massive jump. Next up is RAM. There's no way I'm letting a single 8GB stick handle everything on its own. For the original setup, 8GB was fine, but after the CPU upgrade, it would quickly become a bottleneck. So I'm adding another 8GB stick, bringing the total to 16GB of RAM. And now, the part I've been waiting for the most, the GPU. As you can see, there's actually a decent amount of space in here, enough to fit a medium-sized single-fan GPU, not one of those super low-profile cards. Turns out the I/O bracket wouldn't fit at all, so I had to remove it. After that, the GPU fit surprisingly well, but once I tried installing everything back into the case, I ran into another issue. There was a metal tab pushing against the GPU shroud. So I grabbed a pair of pliers and bent it out of the way, just enough to clear the card. In the end, the fit was pretty good, although it was still pressing slightly against the RAM area, so I had to remove one stick for now. But the real question is, does it actually work after all these upgrades? Let's power it on and find out. Once I jumped back into the game, the FPS went up, but so did something I definitely didn't want: temperatures. It became pretty clear that the stock cooler just isn't enough for this setup. I did try installing a 4 heat pipe cooler, but size quickly became a problem. There just wasn't enough clearance inside this case. So I had to get a bit creative. Instead of changing the whole cooler, I decided to swap out the stock fan for one with a larger size and higher RPM. And honestly, the results were better than I expected. CPU temperatures dropped by around 20 degrees, and the best part is, it didn't take up much extra space at all. Simple mod, big improvement. Alright, back to Minecraft. And yeah, the difference is huge. At lower render distance, the FPS shoots up to over 600 frames per second. When I crank the render distance all the way up to 32 chunks, FPS is still hovering around 100, and the hardware isn't even close to being maxed out. Now let's turn on shaders. With shaders enabled and the render distance set to 12 chunks, the FPS stays surprisingly stable at around 40 FPS. Totally playable and honestly pretty impressive for a system that started out like this. And just like that, this PC has been upgraded to a whole new level, completely different from where it started. Thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the entire video. If you found it helpful or enjoyable, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's free after all.